Welcome back to Somerset Place State Historic Site. We're standing along the street, which was the main thoroughfare in the enslaved community. Now, on our last episode, Krista covered part of the Lake Chapel's history. Over the course of 26 years, 7 different ministers were hired to preach in the chapel. These men had usually recently completed their ordination and training, so the Lake Chapel was one of their first assignments. However, they were highly educated and received an average annual salary of $500. Now, during his tenure, each priest lived in his own room of the colony house. The pastors also maintained the Lake Chapel's parish register, which is a valuable primary source that we use to understand and interpret the lives of the enslaved community. It was compiled from 1837 to 1868, with a break between 1862 and 1865, and lists the baptisms, marriages, confirmations, and burials of the chapel's communicants. In that time, the register names 55 marriages, 699 baptisms, 233 confirmations, 253 communicants, and 230 burials. While we have various documents that list or mention enslaved people throughout much of the plantation's history, the Lake Chapel Register is the only consistent record of the enslaved community. However, it is important to note that not all enslaved persons were communicants of the church, so the Chapel Register does not give us a complete view of the enslaved community over that time. The register's end date is also significant because the Civil War forever changed the Lake Chapel. Most of the free blacks severed their ties to the Episcopal Church immediately after emancipation, refusing to listen to Josiah Collins IV read the old service and opting instead to attend a sermon preached by a formerly enslaved person. Now, these men and women saw the Episcopal Church as a tool of their former owners and as a vivid reminder of slavery, so most opted to join Methodist, Baptist, or African Methodist Episcopal Zion churches as they pursued their freedom apart from the plantation. Others, however, remained Episcopalian, including domestic workers and artisans who were closely associated with the Collins family. So the Lake Chapel remained in use after the Civil War, but without a resident priest or a consistent congregation. So there were only sporadic services, few attendees, and infrequent baptisms. Annie Sexton Holmes, in recalling her time at Somerset Place in 1885, wrote that, quote, "The little chapel was even then looked up as a sacred memorial to the past. Many Sunday afternoons, Reverend Luther Eborn, the Episcopal clergyman, held services in it." Another resident of the plantation shortly thereafter remembered that, quote, "There was a long, low white building, and we were told that was where they held services for the slaves." Now, after the turn of the 20th century, the building no longer served as a chapel, and its subsequent usage is not clear, although it might have been either a tenant dwelling or a dump site for domestic trash. It was no longer standing by 1924 and has since been twice excavated. William S. Tarleton uncovered the foundation in 1952 as part of his archaeological efforts to document the plantation's antebellum structures. He then created an elevation drawing of the exterior based on his work. The chapel was excavated in greater detail in 1994, along with other structures in the enslaved community for possible future reconstruction. Almost 34,000 artifacts were uncovered, and detailed excavation plans were produced. The Lake Chapel's foundation remains exposed for visitors to view today. To learn more about the religion among the formerly enslaved community and other post-Civil War changes to the plantation, join us for our special guided tour, Somerset Place in the New South, which is offered on the 3rd Saturday of every month at 1 o'clock or by reservation for groups of 15 or more. Be sure to also subscribe to our channel and ring that bell to receive notifications about our latest videos. Thanks for joining us.